Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 2121. This week on Cars Yeah, we're celebrating the Quail, a motorsport gathering that takes place Friday, August 19th at Quail Lodge and Golf Club. To learn more about this iconic event, go to thepeninsulaSignatureEvents.com. I'll see you there.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today we're going to have some fun. I've got a very special guest on the line by the name of Matt Chambers. Matt, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have any gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Now, given that we're going to be talking about electric motorized motorcycles, no clutch? Am I right in guessing that?
You don't take it out of gear. You want to keep the fewest moving parts.
Absolutely. Well, I always start the show that way, but we're going to be talking about something incredible today that you and your team have put together. However, before I give you an introduction and we dive into your world, what's one little thing that people may not know about you, Matt?
Oh, let's see, something they don't know. Well, in 1958, I learned how to read when I discovered a book next to my grandmother's house, which was in the library in downtown Mountain Home, Arkansas. And it was a book about motor car and motorcycle insignia and brand and car and motorcycle design. And I've been an absolute freak. Ever since every morning I get up at like 4:30, I get on my bicycle and I scour the planet for the latest news and auto and design, car magazine, auto car, auto week, you name it. So I don't know why I'm in, but I just absolutely am addicted to the context of automotive, motorcycling, insignia, brand, design, the way all of these things interconnect, the way they become holistic, almost like a biological being. So it's, the organicism of all of that really captivates my imagination. So, yeah. And nobody knows that because why would they?
Why? Well,
weird.
That's actually pretty amazing. You think about what affects us as a young child and how that instills something in our mind. But what's incredible to me is that age factor of how young you were and how many maybe other 3-year-olds would just toss it aside and go on to something else. But something about it.
Four.
Well, 4, 3, yeah. Whatever. It's just it's incredible. Yeah. I still have the first, what I call the real book my parents ever gave me, which was Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. And, it's always surprises some people when I ask them, do you know who wrote Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Do you know?
No, I do.
Ian Fleming, who wrote the James Bond stories. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool.
Kind of makes sense because Chitty Chitty Bang Bang was this incredible invention of a spectacular vehicle. And that's what we're going to be talking about with Matt today because that's exactly what he's done. So nice segue there. Let me give you a proper introduction. Matt Chambers is the founder and CEO of Curtis Motorcycles, where he and his creative team have developed two-wheel works of art and innovation. He has over 3 decades of experience in the design and motorcycle industry. Actually, maybe more if you go back to that 4-year-old moment when he opened that book on his grandmother's nightstand. And he's one of the world's most experienced OEM motorcycle executives. Matt has built a highly skilled team of true believers, both internal and external, to his company. The all-electric Curtis One motorcycle was created to never be obsolete and has been designed to be around for generations. Driven by the pursuit of excellence that redefines the concept of the EV on 2 wheels. We're going to learn a lot more about this. But first, a word from our sponsors, so let's give them a little love. They're the reason we're here. Sit tight, keep your riding boots on, and your helmet ready. We'll be right back. My friends at Covercraft offer you 10 different options. That's right, 10 for your vehicle's protection. You can choose from Weather Shield HP, HD, Sunbrella, Ultratect, Reflect, Form Fit, Custom View Shield, and their newest 5-layer all-climate cover, 3-layer moderate climate cover, and a 5-layer indoor option. You have all sorts of ways to protect your car. All of these are custom tailored by Covercraft's talented craftspeople. It's the form and fit with the quality to attention to detail that's been their standard since 1965. Surface protection is the best way to preserve the investment you've made in your vehicles. It's what I do. Covercraft protects cars, trucks, motorcycles, RVs, trailers, and watercraft too. I have a Covercraft cover for every one of my vehicles, and I've got a deal for you. If you use the code YEAH21, YEAH21 at covercraft.com, they'll give you 10% off your order, plus you get free shipping. That's right, 10% off and free shipping. Just use the code YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. American Collectors Insurance has been my go-to for collector car insurance. But did you know they also insure your valuable collections of automobilia and other collectibles? If you're like me, you've invested in a lot of cool collectibles over the years. Those items are valuable. And if you were to lose them in a theft or a fire, well, try to get your normal homeowner's insurance to pay you what they're worth. Good luck with that. American Collectors Insurance provides you with assurance and confidence that your collectibles are fully covered. They insure a lot of items, including automobilia, wine, baseball cards, books, figurines, die-cast models, model trains, glassware, sports memorabilia, toys, and a whole lot more. American Collectors Insurance, they've been protecting us enthusiasts since 1976. They provide you with an agreed value insurance policy backed by a long history of taking care of their clients. Give them a call today for your personal agreed value quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Green's here at Cars Yeah, American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. Automotive enthusiasts just like you and me. That's American Collectors Insurance. I've teamed up with AutoGeek because, well, they've been the leading source of auto detailing products, accessories for more than 20 years. Their Pinnacle Sovereign Paste Wax is specially formulated from Brazilian carnauba wax. It's easy to apply on any paint surface and provides that warm glow that we love, especially me on my vehicles. You're going to love it too. A favorite of car shows countrywide, Pinnacle Sovereign Paste Wax from AutoGeek wipes on easily, requires no drying time, is easy to remove, and provides up to 90 days of protection against damaging environmental contaminants. This wax is designed to exceed the standards of the most discriminating enthusiasts and collectors. Go to autogeek.net to get yours for the best product selection on the internet today, along with their very skilled technical support. Autogeek.net. That's where I go for all my detailing needs. That's autogeek.net. So, Matt, I always say we're going to dive a little deeper into the corner here, something that I think you've done many times, going around a corner on a two-wheeled motorcycle. But before we dive into this amazing bike that you've created, I want to go back in time a little bit, maybe not all the way back to 4. But you were an attorney for many years, and one day you just said, you know what? I want to create bikes. Tell us a little bit about what's happened with your career before we evolve into what we're going to be talking about today, because it's an incredible story.
Yeah, it is interesting. I was fortunate to land a case in the late 80s, which was a police brutality case, and me and my team achieved the largest judgment against a police force for police brutality in U.S. history up to that point, $8.8 million. So I was in a really good position. I had some cash. I had a guy that wanted to buy my law firm out. And so I was right on the cusp. I could be the ubiquitous billboard lawyer, and the way things have gone, I think it would have been quite financially rewarding. Alternatively, I could go into something that I really wanted to do, and so I just got in the zone of what I alluded to earlier in this podcast about going back to what really got me involved in reading and studying. The thing that it wasn't the briefing of cases that I loved when I was in law school or out. It was this business, this contextualization of brand and design and motoring. I always have loved so much. So I decided to go with my heart, kind of lose the idea of what can be measured in numbers and embrace the world of what can't be, to go emotional and romantic. And I'm very happy I did. It's been absolute joy. And I'm sure that everyone that's listening to the podcast understands that. So it's been the best decision I ever made.
Yeah, that's what Cars Yeah is all about, is people that have figured out a way to wrap that passion into their career. So let's talk a little bit about And I don't want to go too deep here because I really want to get into the bike you're doing now, but I would like you to share some history of motorcycle development because you really dove deep into the V-twin design and did some very unique things there. But all of this is a bit of a buildup to what you're doing today. But take us on a bit of a ride, if you will, through this evolution of motorcycle design that you and your creative types have done.
Well, it begins with four words: every man a king. So the idea is no one tells and no one is told. This gets everybody off the grid. It's more about listening, and it rewards crazy, not stupid, but crazy. So you want to, you're looking for what's the craziest thing we could do, and then you kind of trim that back, and the constant search for what our client really deeply wants on the inside that he probably is unaware of. I mean, how many times do you acquire a certain thing and wonder, why did I do that? Because it's even unknowable to us, much less projecting into the mind of our client. So the bottom line is we've got this team of very free-thinking folk. Just quick, when we began, the whole point was I wanted to make a high-performance V-twin, American V-twin, that a real American road bike that was like my 69 Sportster, which was a pre-AMF Harley, which was way better than post AMF. And what we discovered is that we could take the baseline transmission setup, powertrain setup in a Harley, turn it upside down around and run it in reverse, shorten the center-to-center distance, and make a much better, much more robust version of an American V-twin. And so that's what we did. I mean, we weren't sure it would work, but we thought it would. As a matter of fact, the first night, we couldn't make it shift after 3 years of investment and time and money. But on the second day, which was Veterans Day in 1994, she shifted, and I took it out for the first ride, and dude, it was worth the effort. I mean, it was the Harley that could,
That must have been a huge smile through that helmet opening on your face when that happened.
Yep.
This is the wonders of innovation and change, and we see this happen in so many different aspects of the world. But bringing you back to motorcycles, I really want to take a deeper dive into what you're doing today. I watched it twice, a video that you guys created about what you're doing. And I'll put a link to that on Matt's show notes page for you listeners to go. And I encourage you to watch it because it really takes you into the world and the mindset here of Matt and his team, JT Nesbitt and the other very creative people that you've got around you. But let's ask you to take us on a bit of a walk through this journey, because the decision to go EV, I've talked to a lot of people on the show about that. We know why we're doing that, and where it takes us, we're not quite sure, but you're doing something very different, my friend. So take us for a ride.
Well, it begins, I was working with this design dude named Blanche, who was constantly ranting about, we got to go electric. And like so many of us ICE motoring zealots, I was like, not no, but hell no. It took me like 24 to 30 months, of him pounding on me. And then all of a sudden the light bulb went on, and I'm like, something, maybe there's something here. And then maybe 2 years after that, which was actually 6 years ago, June 29, with the help of two co-founders, I went over the edge and I decided I'm going to go all in on this. And the real bottom line was that there wasn't more we could do with the American V-twin road bike. We had blown it out. I mean, the P-51 Fighter, / Curtis Warhawk, the last piece we made, about 160 horsepower, 160 foot-pound of torque in an air cooler, kind of the traditional Glenn Curtis format V-twin. That's about all she wrote. I mean, there's just not more in it. So, now we've got 217 potential horsepower.
Whoa.
And, 100 pounds lighter and so forth, a lot more power and much just better in every way, really.
Well, when you think about how you've created this, there's so many components. Being a visual person that many of us people that love cars and bikes are. Let's start with that, the design, because this looks like nothing I've ever seen before. It looks like something out of a futuristic movie set of some kind, but it's all real and it all works. Where did this come from?
When I formed the company originally, the foundation was first principle originalist thinking. So the idea was that it would be like try to grow the piece like biology. Mm-hmm. So, like from the naval out for humanity. And I actually thought I was doing that. Then as we worked through the ideas and the ideas started to marry and all this kind of stuff, we realized that actually, we were just putting powertrains and bicycles like everybody else, and they're never that we were in a rabbit hole of thinking. We thought we were like organicists, but we weren't. So Nesbitt came up with this on a lark, like, I got it. We'll start with the drive shaft, and we'll tap that drive shaft in the center of an axial flux electric motor, and then we'll put the legs of the motorcycle on it in a perfect symmetry, like the symmetrical way that your hips and legs line up, the fact that your two legs are the same length, and it's almost like, or maybe even it's more evolved species like an ant or something, because the leg and the arm of the Curtis are exactly the same. So the front end and the rear end, they're all interchangeable. Mm-hmm. But the big leap was the motorcycle starts with the drive shaft. And from there, it grows outward from the inside out. A dream and a vision that I had always had. Nesbitt made it real. And it says something about people, even people that think they know what they're doing, that I thought I was doing it organically, but I wasn't. I was just, all I did was make a better powertrain, monocoque the Harley and shorten the center to center. So it was a much more robust core, but it was still like every other piece, a bicycle with a motor in it. Mm-hmm. The first two-wheel vehicle in history that actually grows from the inside out that isn't a bicycle. The motor in it is the one. So hence that's why we call it the one. And it benefits from that, from the natural nature of it. It feels, you feel it when you see it.
Well, when I watched the film, I just went, okay, I want to get on this thing, because you think about bikes, you think about noise, vibration, and all that. You've removed all that from this, right?
For me, I'm not sure that in the world of four wheels that I won't always prefer ICE. But motorcycles are different because motorcycles are far more visceral. Very quickly, my daily for some time was a Fiesta ST Ford, which was a great little daily. I love the little piece. And then I would ride these P-51 Fighters during the day, which is the most gnarly, badass thing on the planet. And the Fighter was a luxury motorcycle that was actually, it had the best suspension, long travel. It rode relatively smooth. But when I would get off of the Fighter and into my Ford, my little Fiesta ST, the Fiesta ST felt like a Rolls Royce. Yeah. So my point is that even the most primitive little cheap car is way more distancing from what's going on than even a luxury motorcycle. So I think on two wheels, when you remove the takeaway of all these elements, particularly shunt, which I think most people don't actually relate to, when I talked about the shaft, the legs perfectly symmetrical and it living off of this piece, and then coaxial nature of the powertrain itself. So there's not only no noise, vibration, harshness, but there's zero shunt. So it's hard to explain how sublime the experience is and how much fidelity, how much honesty you're able to garner from the palm and the sole and the bottom, the sole of your foot, the palm of your hand, and your bottom in the seat. And not to mention that you're in nature, so you can really grasp the beauty and the surroundings of the roads of your life. Where you live, where you're going to be riding the motorcycle.
Right.
Not to mention, man, that it's quiet. So now you can leave at 5 a.m. in the morning, and the baby next door
not wake up all the neighbors. Yeah.
Yes. So you can go when there's no traffic, which is, I think, very nice. It's much safer. There's a huge safety aspect to it.
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that I noted in learning more about you in your group is how you speak about your team. And I always ask my guests about what I call driving inspirations, people that are mentors, influencers, people who inspired you. You've surrounded yourself with some very creative people from the onset of building bikes, and you continue to do that today. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of that to you in creating the one?
It's all about the true believer aspect, and the way this company has always operated is it's very yin. So you imagine you're this beautiful female, and you want to attract the male that you like, but you don't do anything. You just you just do what you do.
You just be.
So in other words, we don't reach out. I've never targeted. I've never said I want that guy. But JT came to us because he saw something when he saw the powertrain layout in 1994 of our work. You know, he's a far greater genius when it comes. He is the ultimate motorcycle savant, and he immediately looked at it and said, "Damn, you know, I love Harley. Obviously, this old man does. That fixes the problem. That optimizes it," and it did. So he fell for it, and that's how we got him. Cornel, same way. He sent in his resume to us. He had a job where he could have made 3 times as much money at Google, but he wanted to come be on our team. It's the same with the gentleman that did the filmmaker. We just brought in a new CFO, and he's going to be a perfect CFO fit for us. He is the same way. We've been needing a CFO for a while, but you just have to, the problem is you have to be patient for the right, you know, they have to find you. So in using my beautiful female as an example, unfortunately for her, she has to wait until her dream guy says, okay, you know, he has to present, but you can't go sell it. They have to come to you. That's in my view, the way you build the first principle originalist team, the organic team of true believers. And then no one has to tell them anything, because they're all self-motivated. And that's the way this thing works. It's everybody, you know, it's like the perfect basketball team or whatever. You know, that they play as a biological whole. It's almost like they're a membrane. You know, it's like one's the heart, one's the lungs, one's the liver, one's the eye. You know, the brain. Sure. And together, man, it's like an ultimate being, intellectual force for making cool motoring.
Now, there's a creative, unique answer to that question I've never heard. Wow, I love it. We're going to take a short break and thank our sponsors. We come back. I want you to single out one big challenge that you faced, as if you haven't faced a lot when you're creating something original like this. So give that some thought, and we'll be right back. Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. If you're listening to this program, there's a pretty good chance you believe what I believe, that the collector vehicles we love are more than just a means of getting from one place to the other. They're a part of our culture, our identity, and as a people, they bring us together at vintage races, classic car auctions, and 1,000-mile rallies. That's why I support the RPM Foundation, which exists to ensure that the critical skills necessary to preserve and restore these important vehicles aren't lost to time. RPM stands for Restoration, Preservation, and Mentorship, and their goal is to inspire the next generation of vehicle restoration professionals through its outreach programs. And they include Shop Hop, Off to the Races, the RPM Future Class, and many others. These programs engage talented young people across the country and connect them with mentors and a variety of opportunities in the industry. For more information on how the RPM Foundation is driving the future of collector vehicles skill trade, visit rpm.foundation today. So Matt, I like to ask what I call the Cars Yeah, or in this case, Motorcycles Yeah challenge question. Pick one big, huge challenge you've faced in your career. It could be anything really, but really is more about how it pushed you, and maybe it pushed you up against a wall to a point where you almost felt like stopping or quitting. And walk us through that process. But more importantly, what was the lesson that it taught that you could carry forward to turn it into a positive experience?
And look, I think that it's kind of weird, but I think my big judgment error was that the company that we founded was going to be very low volume for sure, particularly with IC, because there's so many parts, and we were going to make 100, 150 bikes a year, something like that. So bikes were going to be very expensive. And so we basically went after this idea of ultimate badassery, like the bike that we made, like the P-51 Fighter. I'm absolutely certain that it is the most badass beast of a machine. And people love that. They love that. But the person of means, the niche that we were going for, they don't want the hassle and the intimidation of such a beast. So, but yet it was so difficult. I cannot emphasize how difficult it was to turn away from that because I was so married to it. So it would almost be like you're in this rabbit hole and you've been digging and digging and digging. And so we started off with 88 horsepower and 100 foot-pounds of torque, and the bike would run away from Harleys. And all my buddies, even my rich good friends that had Harleys, they just stayed with their Harley because they didn't want something quite. They were kind of afraid. And we ended up with this thing that would run, a 10 flat quarter mile and just so raucous, so much torque, so low in the rev range, 132 cubes, loud, scary as hell looking. So we ended up in this space where you end up with, how many men are, have $100 million in the bank and are expert enough to feel comfortable with such a machine. And we ended up doing 30, 35 pieces a year. And it just wasn't enough. So hence this is part of the reason that we moved to this new chapter where we can get the same sense of motoring luxury, motoring attractiveness. I think more so, very sexy, very beautiful, but without the intimidation and without the hassle and without the fear, and with a much greater amount of safety. I actually would say we're right on the zeitgeist too, because I think that the new future generations of girls, there was a time when I got started where girls loved the potato sound of these big American twins, but not so much anymore. So I think that for most of our customers that would like to have something that's very attractive to girls who wouldn't want that. I know I certainly do. The bike we have now is far better than that. I've already had the experience of having several really cool women stop me on the bike and say, "Wow, man, what the hell is that? It's a beautiful thing," So it's very attractive, and people enjoy the fact that it doesn't disturb their space. So to that extent, it's a return of the gentleman's motorcycle. It has a little bit of that 1920s, 1930s vibe to it that, of elegance, just a hint of decadence, not too much, just the right amount. So it's sexy, but at the same time quite sophisticated.
Well, it's a nice segue into what I like to ask about bucket list and future accomplishments and goals. Is this a bike that you guys see as more mass produced, so available to more people than that very crazy, wild, way overpowered type bike that only a few people would dare get on and actually ride?
Look, we've got something in terms of platform architecture that we want to share with the world. So we would be it would be stingy of us not to develop. And we have a nice portfolio already developed of bikes that will come out over the next 5 years. That'll begin a process of making Curtis technology available for every type, taste, style, and pocketbook. So just be patient, and we're going to be out there with bikes that'll range from 49 to, up to the 217 horsepower. They'll all have that centered power axis, organic patented approach to platform architecture, the triple load path design, the kind of aircraft inspired, Glenn Curtis inspired way that we make the bike, which makes it entirely and completely precise. So if you put our product on a chassis dyno, it is perfectly squared, perfectly perpendicular, because it's all machined. We have some really thoughtful innovation. And so the idea is that if you want something beautiful, we've got that. We have a sub-brand. The first Curtis was a Hercules, and then he found out that he might not be able to use that because of trademark infringement, so he just changed his brand to Curtis. But we have a trademark on Hercules by Curtis. So our next product will be the Hercules by Curtis, and it'll be a little more of a tough, where the Curtis is kind of is about love and beauty, and the Hercules a little more about toughness and a little more aggressive, maybe more the male of the overarching brand context.
I got it. I love it. So let's talk about one special bike, or it could be a car, one special vehicle in your life, looking back, that really stands out for you and why?
Well, yeah, really, I got to go back. I mean, I made it a point when I was in law school to get a pre-AMF Harley, and I got an orange Sportster with straight pipes. And the pre-AMF Harleys, at some level, what I wanted to do was to go back to, the real American manufacturer. It's kind of weird because original Harley, to me, they weren't about money. They were about great bikes, and they made a great sustainable company. I mean, Curtis is going to be a great stock to own. It's going to be a very profitable company because we prioritize the bike itself. So, a company like Curtis, first and foremost, has to be product driven, and we are. But once AMF got Harley, everything became a little bit jumbled, and they certainly have done a fabulous job with their business. But believe me, getting that orange pre-AMF Sportster was a good thing. It was cool, man. It was the Kickstart XLCH. I rode to law school every day, and it put a smile on my face. Cars. I've had a lot of cool cars. I had a '57 T-Bird when I was young. I had a '67 side pipe convertible Vet. Had a 1970 442 W30 that I raced a guy in his comparable 396 up to about 140 on the interstate one night side by side. So I had some good stuff. The best one had a P1800 Volvo in law school that I really liked. It didn't drive worth a damn, but I love Simon Templar. It was cool.
Well, it's funny. I just had a guest on my show who they're building Cyan Motorsports. They're building.
Love that car, man.
Yeah, the new Cyan. Yeah, the P1800.
Love it.
Yeah, reimagining, if you will, that vehicle, which is a pretty spectacular thing. He was a guest a few weeks ago. So I'm going to be your car psychologist, Matt. This will be a very interesting place to go. I'm going to crawl into your head a little bit here. If you were a vehicle, what would you be? But this isn't what you want to be. This is a deep dive into your personal intellect, a man in the mirror. What would you be, and more importantly, why?
Well, that's a tough question.
I know.
Oh, wow. I mean, I think I got to go with the stick shift CT5 Blackwing black with the saddle interior.
Okay.
I think. I mean, there's a little bit of Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin going on. I love the lyric. So if I could take the lyric and the celestique, and I think Mary Barrow's got a shot, with Cadillac to do something. If they can fuse all that stuff together, they've been working on it a long time, and I do dig that. I do like the emotion of that Blackwing Cadillac.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, I knew we'd go to an interesting place with a creative mind like yours. Is there a great book that you've read you'd like to share with our listeners? Because we're real big on enjoying books or lesson learned books or whatever it might be.
The one that comes to mind right now is the Taken for a Ride book. I was drawn to to Mercedes, and I love that period of Iacocca, and he goes with Bob Eaton instead of Lutz, and what could have been, and it was the end of the big three, because obviously Chrysler has never been an American company since then, and the book is filled with intrigue, and I bought an SRT, which was on the E-Class chassis, cheapened, a Charger that I rode a couple of 100,000 miles in, and it was fruit of the vine. It was definitely the underpinning of it. The idea of the E-Class cheapened, the interior was too cheap, and there were things about it that weren't great, but it was a great automobile. But I always wondered, they had the Castaigne guy. They had Chrysler had some cool things going on with Lutz. I always wonder about that period if Iacocca had handed the baton to Lutz, but then the things about Lutz, I don't like the fact that he gave away Saab from GM, because my belief is that Saab could have been a kick-ass brand. When I alluded to the Blackwing, I mean, I wish it was a GTO Pontiac. That the only reason, I love the car, but I wish it was a coupe, and I wish it was a Pontiac, or maybe even an Oldsmobile 442. So some of these things, some of the decisions that have been made in the American car world, I've set back. It's something that I've studied my whole life. I mean, I'm the book about my years with General Motors from Sloan, I read many, many years ago. I love that book. I love the idea of multi-concept and decentralization. And the story, there's a great story, two things. I mean, in 1958 at General Motors, which is 51 years before they went bankrupt, that they every morning, the five families would meet for breakfast. And they would talk about how to make better Chevys, Pontiacs, Oldsmobiles, Buicks, and Cadillacs. And then in the June of that period, right after the government forced the DuPont 70% interest in GM to be broken and the management took over the company, they said, no. From now on, y'all talk about how do we make the most money on Chevys, Pontiacs, Oldsmobiles, Buicks, and Cadillacs, which in my view, when I was growing up, man, it was Dinah Shore, See the USA, and your Chevrolet Bonanza and all that stuff.
Right.
And I would have said the United States will be taken over before General Motors will be, and yet General Motors went bankrupt in '09. So, I just, I love what Durant and Sloan built. And with DuPont's oversight, kind of the patron saint, I think the underpinnings of GM, original GM, the greatest company in history, a great American story. And at some level, I want to repeat that story with Curtis. Yeah.
Great book recommendation. Taken for a ride, the subhead on that is how Daimler-Benz drove off with Chrysler. Bill Vlasic and Bradley Sturtz wrote that book. It's a great story. Kind of sad, too. Well, really sad, really. But it is what it is. So let's do something fun. I'm going to enable you to go on what I call the ultimate drive or ride. You could be on a bike or a car. I'm going to foot the bill for you to have anything underneath you. Any car in the world, any bike in the world. You can go anywhere in the world. And if you'd like to take somebody, that could be somebody either living or someone who's passed. What does that ultimate ride or drive look like for you?
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I have several. I mean, I want to put Pam on the, my wife is the greatest tandem motorcycle rider ever, and I want to put her on the back. I want to do that coast ride, which I've done before, the LA San Francisco thing. I mean, I just love that. So I'm on a Curtis. Me and Pam, I want to load up a diesel Escalade with all the trimmings with my grandkids. I want to do that, and then I want to load up that big badass Cadillac with my old man who's been dead for 51 years, and I want to ride the same road with him. So that those would be the big three, I guess. Very hard to pin one down. They all sound too good to be true, and thank you for giving me the chance to have that fantasy.
Well, it's pretty cool. I'll tell you that. I've taken that drive up the Coast Highway, Highway 1 many times. I did it I bought a Beck Spider, one of the cars that Chuck Beck built as a replica of a 550, but it had been built by John Wilhoit down in Long Beach, who restores beautiful 356 Porsches and early 911s. And he built that Beck using all 50s Porsche 356 parts, including the engine. And I jumped in that car with my son, who was 8 at the time, and we spent 5 days driving up the coast. No top, no radio, no heat.
Oh, wow. Love it.
Kind of like being on a motorcycle in a way. It's like a little race car, but he still talks about that, and I'm still talking about it today, too. So it is a wonderful, wonderful journey. You have taken us on an incredible journey. I could talk to you for a long time. I'm going to remind listeners, I'm going to put a link to this video, this film you've got to watch. It'll be on Matt's show notes page. It's absolutely spectacular. It'll give you a much deeper insight into what's going on in Matt's brain. Before I let you go, though, Matt, could you share maybe some parting words of wisdom, inspiration, success quote, or a mantra that might leave us with some inspiring thoughts today?
Yeah. I mean, live your life so free that your very existence is an act of rebellion. That's a quote. That's a Camus. 1, Camus. 2, the rebel is the man who loves humanity and yearns to see it in a better way. And then the E, I love the E. Cummings quote. The toughest fight you will ever fight and must keep fighting is the fight to be nobody but yourself in a world trying to make anybody else.
Yes.
So, and I love Every Man a King, and I wish I could take credit for it, but that's Huey Long, who would probably make a great president right now. So, I think America is the land of, we abandon the monarchy, and, so we all can be a king, and that's no one tells and no one is told. To be honest, I formed my own company, not because I feel very discomforted telling people what to do, but I really don't want anyone to tell me what to do either. So let's be a nation of self-starters. We all know what we need to do, and let's just get on with it.
Absolutely. I love it. How can people learn more about Curtis Motorcycles?
Curtis, 2 S's. That's Glenn Hammond Curtis, the great. CurtisMotorcycles.com.
There you go. I'll put links to that.
Cool.
Again, listeners, even if you're not into motorcycles or riding, you got to check this out because it will inspire you. It's inspired me, and Matt, you've inspired so many. I can't thank you enough for spending time with us today. I also want to do a shout out thank you to Alexander Petruccelli at Con Media. The folks at Con Media are so wonderful. They bring me some of the best guests here on Cars Yeah. Matt, thank you for being so generous today with your time and sharing your brain with us, your thought process with us. This has been delightful. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
You're the best. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.